Hello, this is Garrett Keane, continuing the series of videos looking at a program to do the second moment of area for a series of sections, cross sections. So we finished up the last video basically seeing how the circular hollow section, rectangular hollow section, by pressing on these buttons we can choose the appropriate frames. So in this video we're going to look at the code that's associated with this button, and that's the code that will actually calculate the second moment of area for these different cross sections. So firstly we need to look at the formula that we're going to need. So if you look at the spreadsheet here, we have the circular hollow section, and when you're working out the second moment area of a hollow section, you first of all work out the second moment of area of the outer section, then you work it out the second moment of area of the inner section, and you subtract the inner one from the outer one. So in this particular case, the overall diameter is big D. Now I have small d here, but it's the same value. So I outer is equal to pi d to the power of 4 over 64, where big D is the outer diameter of the pipe, or the section. Then to work out I inner, if you look at this, you have a thickness here, but you also have the thickness there. So you have to work it out as pi, and then you subtract 2 times the thickness from the overall diameter. That will give you the diameter of the inner circle, and then you can work out the second moment of area of the inner circle. And when you have that worked out, you subtract it from the second moment of area for the outer circle, and that gives you the second moment of area of the circular hollow section. When we look at the rectangular hollow section, we also work out the second moment of area of the outer section. So B is the width of this section and D is the depth, overall depth. So for the outer section, we use the standard formula for a rectangular section. I outer is equal to BD cubed over 12. Then when we're working it out for the inner section, from the width we have to take away twice the thickness because it's here and here. So B minus 2 times T, and we multiply that by D, which is the overall depth, minus 2 times T because we take away these two thicknesses, and we have to cube that value. The product of these is then divided by 12. So we subtract the second moment of area of the inner rectangle from the second moment of area of the outer rectangle. So if you look at the variables we're going to need, for the circular hollow section we need a diameter and we need a thickness for the circular hollow section, and for the rectangular hollow section we need the overall width of the section, the overall depth of the section, and once again the thickness, which is assumed to be the same the whole way around. So we need some suitable variable names. So if I look at the code here, if I come to the code, Developer, Visual Basic, and come into the code, I double click on that first of all, and I'm going to dimension some values. So for the circular hollow section, I'll put a comment in first and I'll dimension D underscore. I'm doing that because I want to differentiate from the depth that I'm going to use later. So I define that as a double, and T, and I'm going to do underscore CHS as a double for the thickness. For the rectangular hollow section we said we needed 3 values. We need dimension, B as a double, D as a double, so that's the overall depth, and thickness of RHS as a double. So I've chosen these variable names, and I want to distinguish between the thickness of the circular hollow section and the rectangular hollow section. Also I used the big D underscore here for the diameter to distinguish that between the small d for the overall depth of the section. And for the second moment of area, I have to dimension I inner as a double, I outer as a double, and I as a double. Now one thing I forgot to do, and you should always do it, is do option explicit, because that forces you to name all the variables that you use, to declare them all. So SMA, which is I, so that's my comment in that case. Second moment of area I, so they're the variables I need. So you basically have to carry out the calculation. if you look at, if I run the main form over here and I run it, you can see here that when I select this one, the user will put in the diameter here and the thickness. So when you press calculate here, it has to see which button has been, you have to test to see which one of these two has been selected. If this one has been selected, you need to read in these two variables. Alternatively, if the RHS has been selected, you need to read in these three variables. So I want you to pause the video and do the next section. No, actually I'll do an if block first, and then what I'll do is I'll get you to do the code that goes into that if block. So what we're basically saying here is if option CHS value is equal to true. So that means if it's been selected, and I need to put a then at the end, then I have else if. So this is the normal way you can actually write a if block, is to actually write the format of the if block like so. Then, and I can just do end if to close it off. So that's my if block there. And what we have is a couple of sections here. So input, if this one is selected, if it's the circular hollow section, input the parameters for circular hollow section, parameters, and if it's this one, I'm just going to copy that, edit copy, edit paste, and I'll do rectangular hollow section. Then I'd say calculate I, so I'm putting in comments to show the structure, calc, the structure of the code. My typing isn't very good there. Calculate I, and output. That's the last section. So for this first one, when the circular hollow section has been chosen, I want you to pause the video now, and then I want you to put in the values here for the input parameters. So read in the correct values we set up here. These are the parameters that you need, the variables that you need to read in for the circular hollow section. When you have those read in, you need to work out I outer, I inner is equal to, now it's coming up in there because I've no code in there, but that's fine. I outer, I inner, and then you say I is equal to I outer minus I inner. Now it's coming up with an error over there because I haven't filled these one in. So we'll just put it one-on-one for the moment. You can see that that's the way to code. So you need to put in the correct formula for the I outer, the correct formula for the I inner. I showed it back here in the spreadsheet. That's it there again. Okay, so you need to do that for both the circular hollow section. So you read in the input parameters, you calculate I, and then you output it. And if you remember, text I dot text is equal to what? What value do we put into text dot I dot out? And if you remember, that is that text box there where you put out the answer. That's text I. So you need to put the answer out into that box. Okay, pause the video now and give it a go, and I'll reveal the answers very shortly. Okay, so you can see in this section here I reveal the code. Now I should indent that 1 and 2 spaces each time, 2 spaces each time, so that you can see the structure of the if block correctly. And if you look at this, that's your if block. So you're basically saying your input parameters for the circular hollow section. If the option CHS value is equal to true, that means the user has selected to calculate I for a circular hollow section. You read in the value for the diameter from the text box, text diameter.text, and you read in the thickness of the section from text t.chs text. When you have those, you work out the outer second moment of area using the worksheet function .py. So if you want to use any function that exists out in the spreadsheet, you can prefix it by the command worksheet function dot, and then you'll see the commands listed. So worksheet function pi multiplied by d underscore to the power of 4. Put all of this in brackets and divide it by 64. And then for the inner second moment of area, I have d, and I subtract 2 thicknesses for the circular hollow section before I multiply it, bring it to the power of 4. Then when I have I outer and I inner, I just subtract I inner from I outer, and then I output that onto the appropriate text box. So I haven't done it yet for the second one, the rectangular hollow section. So if you can pause the video and fill that in now, please. Okay, thank you. Okay, you can see the code is filled in here. So if the option for the right rectangular hollow section value is true, then we read in the value of b, the width of the breadth of the section, d, the overall depth, and t or hs is the thickness of the section. So we work out I outer as bd, this should be cubed, divided by 12, and then I inner is b minus 2 times the thickness of the right hand section, and d minus 2 times the thickness of the rectangular hollow section, to the power of 3. So you can see in each case you have to subtract 2 thicknesses from B and 2 thicknesses from D. And that's the code there, and then we output it out onto the text box. We subtract the inner one from the outer one, and then output the value for I out here. So if I run this one here, I pick the circular hollow section, I put in some values, 200, thickness of 20, and I press calculate, and you can see it gives a value out here. Now we need to tidy that up, so I'll just show that in a second what to do. And then if we come to the rectangular hollow section, say I make it 200, 300, and thickness of 20, and I calculate. Now you can see this value is still there, so I need to reset that. You can see it comes up with the new value there. So a couple of things I have to do here. Really, when I select a new button, I should also have it in here. If you look here, that's the button here. That text I text is equal to the empty set like that. I'll copy this down to the other button. So when I run it this time, if I select my hollow section like that, 220, calculate second moment of area, then I select it here. You can see it's blanked that out, which is what you wanted to do. Now you'll also notice here, these are still here when I select circular hollow section, so really these should blank out as well. So what I can do here, I can show that later, but what I can show here actually is the clear button. What we do with the clear button is we can clear everything here. So what we can do is if I click clear here, comes sub, command clear, and I'm just going to do a separate subroutine. Private subroutine, I'll call it sub, and I'll just say clear all. And in this I say text diameter. I'm going to basically clear all the text boxes by setting their text property to the null set, which is a quotation mark followed straight away by another quotation mark. So that's my text diameter. The other ones are text T, CHS. So if I come in here, I'm creating a separate subroutine called clear all. Text T, CHS, underscore, text is equal to null set. Sorry, that's a mistake there. Text is equal to null set. Then we have text B dot text is equal to null set. Text D dot text, these are for the rectangular hollow section, that's the null set, and text T underscore RHS dot text is equal to null set, and then text I dot text is equal to this set here. So if you look at this, I can just call this one here, so I say call clear all from that subroutine there. So if I run that, like so, I put a value in here, 200, 2000, say 20 or 220. I press calculate, and then I can just press clear like that, and it clears everything. Okay, so if I come in here and I put some values in here, 200, 220, I calculate, and then I select my circular hollow section is blank, but if I come back here, it still has all those values in it. So what we should really do is in here, sorry, not in there, what we should do is in here, the code here, I should just call that call clear all. So it's a separate subroutine, and what it will do is, I don't need this then, because it's already included in that subroutine. It will clear all empty cells when I go to call a new. So I select this 220, and now I select this guy here, he's blank, and I come back here. You can see it's now cleared, it's not keeping the old values there anymore. Okay, thanks very much for listening. The last thing I'm going to do is just tidy up the appearance of it, so that I'll cover that in the next video.